Take two. Sorry, Wendy, I saw you were on live. I hope you come back on with me. Broadcast got interrupted. It's kind of happening a lot lately, but I'm really close to my Wi-Fi, but I'm also broadcasting not through Wi-Fi today. So hopefully it will work okay. I'm Elle Ingalls with pressure-free.com, and we're taking out a little trash this morning. If you're new to my show, every once in a while I will share a piece of trash that I found, because I tend to keep clean from my house to the end of the road here of trash, and because we live near a corner store, a lot of people drop trash. This one's really interesting though, Cognac Salignac. I want to read about it because I read the label. It says, VS, very special. Most cognacs are blended, or as we French say, married, after they are aged. But at Salignac, we marry our young cognacs before aging. Their years of intermingling in oaken casks allow time to perform its maturing miracle. Taste our secret. The longer the marriage, the mellower the cognac. I just had to share that because I was actually going to talk about health today, and our feelings about health and genetic predispositions. But because I found this, and also because my cousin, Bruce McClellan, excuse me here, I'm going to drop that bottle, he did his meditation this morning on uncertainty and doubt in relationships. And I thought that it would be very fitting to do the relationship portion today because of all of these signs to do so. Plus it was a full moon last night. People get a little crazy on the full moon. So if you're experiencing a little shifting or craziness, there's a lot going on. My friends who know all about the planets and the stars and astronomy tell me there's a lot going, or astrology, tell me there's a lot going on. Plus we had that big eclipse, and now we have everything churning. Fires and hurricanes, everything is churning. So our relationships churn too, don't they? And when I think about relationships, I think about family relationships, spousal partnerships, business partnerships, our friendships. They're never staying still. You know, with the cognac, they're mellow with age, right? But they're always changing and shifting. They're always growing and shifting. Hi, David. Thank you for joining. If you're on live, thank you so much. And if you're coming on the broadcast, thanks again for watching Pressure-Free Living, Living Pressure-Free. So our relationships are always in flux and always changing. And one of the things that I do with my clients when we work on this area is I talk about intentionality. We can make subtle little shifts that can change how our relationships go. We're making shifts whether we're intentional about it or not. Good morning, Kristen. And so it's interesting when you actually put a little intention on how you wish to be with someone, how you wish to interact. And I want to, so I'm going to do tools first here, and then we'll go a little deeper into why fight or flight actually messes with you when it comes to relationships. But let's get some tools right out on the table here. So one of the tools that I share with my clients is to do a little bit of some thought about how you want to connect. So 2 points that we connect with people are when we first see them and then when we leave them. So if you live with someone in your home, how do you meet and greet? So how do you greet them when they come home? And how do you say goodbye to them when they leave? Probably, you know, we grew up in certain homes. We all grew up in a home, and we all had a way that we did that. And then if you got married or came together in a partnership, that person had a totally different way of doing that. And so then you kind of created your own. And some of the patterns are wonderful and work. Others, not so much. Some homes, people come and go and nobody really notices or knows. Other homes, it's, you know, bye, see you later. Other homes, it's a hug, a kiss, you know, something warm. How do you want to be? Do you want to change up your routine a little bit? Even just making a little tiny intentional change can start to build something in a relationship, whether it's parent-child, partner, you know, it doesn't matter what the relationship is, business partners, co-workers, you know, just one little tiny change away from negative to positive. So wherever you fall on the negative positive scale in any of your relationships, if you want to move it more positive, what are some things that you can do? And I encourage really small changes done over time that can create a new trajectory in a relationship. Because if you try to like do a really big one, there may be a lot of resistance. Anytime we have any kind of change going on, there will be an equal force of resistance pushing against it, if not an even greater force. And that's why we're procrastinators, especially those who are perfectionists. You know, we try to do something, we want it to be so perfect, and we receive that resistance against it. So I'm talking little changes, a little longer hug, a little longer handshake, a handshake with a touch on the elbow. Now, some people need space and don't like a lot of touching. So how you value each other and how you value what each other needs, I think, is really important for you to consider. Another thing to consider is when you're thinking about your relationships, we're really selfish people. And we are particularly selfish if we triggered fight or flight because we're in survival mode. So I'll get into this in a moment, but when you can actually be free of those hormones, you can think more about what another person needs. And you can be a little more open to making some little changes that fit and help the other person. You know, we get some of our greatest fulfillment when we're in service to others. And sometimes we forget about our very closest relationships and serving those. So another idea I have is, you know, when I talk about know what serves you, if you're on that broadcast a few days ago, know what serves you. In this case, what serves your family? What serves your relationship? Certainly fighting rarely does. One person asked me once, a client asked me, but isn't fighting normal in a relationship? And I said to them, well, do you want a normal relationship or are you after something extraordinary? So how can you build an extraordinary relationship? How do you support the people that you love? These are just questions I ask you to ask yourself. And when you start to write down some answers, it's fascinating. I've done this for years. When I really think about my sons and raising our family, I have lists of things in my goal journals. How can I serve my son Hugh? How can I serve my son Ned? How can I serve my son William? I mean, I wrote and wrote and wrote all kinds of things on that. How, you know, who do I need to be as a mother to help them become the people of the world that they need to be? Unleash all their gifts and talents freely with no fear of loss. That's how I like to put that. That's the spirit of contribution. So you can take some time and think about relationships and how you want them to be and how you want to change a little bit of your intention on them so that you start to really truly flourish. We gain a lot of habits from the people who raised us about what relationships are like, but I bet you can look at your family history and you can see like how your grandparents related, how your parents related. Everybody was different. Every two people create a totally different one. Hi, sending love from Philadelphia, home of brotherly and sisterly love. I like to say that. No fear of loss. You're so right, Marina. And Dan, thank you so much for joining, and congratulations to you, by the way, though we're going to miss you. So intentionality and looking at the past and saying, you know, maybe I don't want to be like that. You know, again, we talked about that yesterday. What do you want to change up? You can do that in your relationships too. I think about young couples. When you first come together and you're a young couple and you bring these two cultures, two very different family cultures. You know, what are the fights about? They're about money. They're about traditions. Like, if you're Christian, do you put a star or do you put an angel on the top of the tree? Do you open presents on Christmas Eve or Christmas Day? There's all kinds of rules. And then driving in the car together. You each have your rules about driving. And I'm terrible about that. It's really amazing. So, you know, how do you work it all out? How do you figure it all out? And are you serving each other? So those are open-ended questions for you to work on, a couple of tools. And now I just want to share a little bit about how fight or flight really messes with our relationships and how that can change. Marina chimed in here. I totally catch myself just about to do something a close family member does that drives me crazy. That's good. That's really good. You know, we have to call ourselves out here. Oh my gosh. So When we trigger the fight or flight stress response, we are now in our survival brain. So now we're going to do everything to self-protect. Everything to self-protect. And so we will say things and do things we don't really mean. That's when you see people go crazy in the grocery store. Their child is acting up. They go into fight or flight. They want to control their child. They don't know how. That's when they start saying things and doing things that you, as the passerby, may say, oh, I can't believe they're treating their child like that. We all have those moments where the child is just crying. I remember the first time I tried to go shopping, I didn't have any clothes that fit after my baby was born. So I went to TJ Maxx and my baby cried the whole time that I was in the dressing room. And I finally just gave up. I didn't buy anything because my infant baby is just, a couple weeks old. So, bless all those new moms out there, because it's tough, and dads too, because my husband was the stay-at-home dad for a long time with my kids. And so we will, when we go into fight or flight, when we trigger, that's when we say things and do things we don't really mean, and we do it in our relationships like crazy. Now remember, between genders, there's the huge difference. When a male triggers a stress response, it takes his cells about 9 hours to clear out the stress hormones, but for women it's up to 24-hour cycle. So that means when you have an argument, a few hours later, he's not even in it anymore. But a female still is. They're still in the argument even the next morning. And chances are, if she sees that he isn't still fighting, she'll trigger again. Now, he could be triggering internally because he can't believe how hysterical the female is. It just goes on and on and on. Doesn't that explain so much, Marina? It really does. It explains the glass ceiling, by the way. I did a whole article on LinkedIn. If you haven't seen my LinkedIn article on the glass ceiling in women, I believe the number one reason for the glass ceiling is the fact that men cannot trust women's emotional reactions because we're in the stress response too long. Now, an equal playing field for both men and women is when neither of us triggers. We're nicer to each other. We're much more able to be less self-serving. And we're much more open to creating partnership and love and all of those things. And there's a higher trust factor because we are not, we're not hysterical. We're not in fight or flight. We're not fighting for our physical survival. Our whole cortex shuts down. Our whole cortex shuts down when that happens. I can't wait to be on your show too. That's going to be great, Marina. Hi, Julie. Thank you for joining. So when that cortex shuts down, we say things and do things we don't really mean. And now that I'm 7 years into using the pressure-free method, it's like a science experiment when I do trigger. And I'm human. Sometimes this unexpected thing will hit me, and I will trigger. And it's interesting what will trigger me now. And then I watch this 24-hour effect. And I'm telling you, in the first few seconds, it's like, oh my gosh, I will say crap. I will be, if it's technology that's put me under, I can't believe that something isn't working on the computer and I need it to work like this. I'm so ballistic. And my boys never want to see me trigger because, of course, it lasts so long. So they try to protect me. So that's what's really cool when a family learns pressure-free together. Anyone who lives all in a house together, if you can all learn this method together with me, oh my goodness, it's life-changing, because now you understand why each other is doing what they're doing, what these reactions cause, and why people get sick. We'll talk about health tomorrow on the show, but if you can refrain from triggering those stress hormones, you're not going to have those kinds of reactions. So now your relationships, and there's an added thing, I talked about this yesterday, there's an added responsibility. Sandra writes, oh, hi Sandy, interesting, men cannot trust women's emotional reactions. It's so true, but when you're pressure free, they can. And that's why, as I watch our youngest son, who was 10 years old when we created the method, when I talk to my older sons about it, and how amazing William is able to handle everything. He has such emotional resiliency. It's phenomenal. But he was 10 when he learned how to do all of this. The older boys will say, not only that, he can trust his parents' reactions. So he knows that if he can tell if we go under the line. So then he knows that for the next block of hours, mom's crazy. not to be trusted. So he doesn't ask anything of me that he knows that I can't handle. That's what a family does when they love each other. They figure it out. The other thing is, you stop all the bickering and the fighting, because why would you ever want to trigger someone that you love when you understand the devastation it does to their bodies and minds? So my boys never want to see me go into line, and with my husband too. You know, they don't want to see me go into line because they love me and they care about me, and I love them, and I never want to trigger them and cause them to go under the line. So when a whole family learns this together, it is phenomenal. It is life-changing, because the children in the family can trust the emotional responses of the adults. The adults can help the younger ones through those difficult times. It's really pretty amazing. You can't decide. You have to share. Pressure free is not meant to be hidden, Marina. You have to share. That's a really good question, though, because I do work with clients and they want to kind of keep it a secret because it's power. Knowledge is power. But I really encourage anyone that's working privately with me to share this with the people that they live with, because you will be different. Once you understand the stress response and you stop releasing these stress hormones, you will be different. And so I always encourage, oh, hi Camden, thank you for coming on. I really encourage people to share with the people that they live with, because they won't be able, they know how to push your buttons. And when they no longer are pushing your buttons and you're no longer reacting that way, or they're pushing but you're not reacting, they really don't know what to think. And I'm going to share, I'm going to get really personal here, okay? Calling myself out, sharing here. When I created the pressure-free method, my oldest son and me, we were the two really using it. And a few weeks in, and now my husband, I was writing like crazy, and my husband's a professional author, so he was taking everything and editing it and looking through everything. And he said, one night at the dinner table, the boys had finished eating and they were off, and he said, you know, I really, I feel like you don't care anymore. I'm like, what? And he goes, well, I don't, maybe what it is that you're not reacting. Oh, I gotta get, I'll finish the story, but Marina writes in, what is one action you can take to get, okay, the number one action today, out of this thing today, is to, because it's about relationships, is to make one little tiny change, one little tiny thing that you are being more intentional about in your relationship. How you meet and greet the people in your home, and how you say goodnight or send them off in the morning, or whatever's going on there. That's where that's the sweet spot where that has to happen. So that's my tip today. That's my tool today for you. But back to the story. So he says, I don't, you know, I'm confused. So what I realized was he was editing all my things, but I'd never actually given a coaching session to him. So we went out on the patio and I gave my husband his first coaching session, and he practically fell off his chair. He said, this is amazing. And now he gets it. So I wasn't reacting the way everybody was used to me reacting. So that didn't mean that I didn't care. It just meant that I was protecting myself from releasing the stress hormones. So that's why I always tell everybody, please tell the people that you live with that you're working on this pressure-free stuff. You know, I tell that to all my clients, because you will be different. They're used to you reacting a certain way. And when you don't, it's very confusing. It can be very confusing. So my husband, or my oldest son and I, we were the first people actually using it. And then my middle son, I worked with his entire hockey team, and they went through my whole course. All those boys did. It was phenomenal. And so that's how he really got the pressure-free method. My youngest has kind of been through osmosis, and all of them have been editing and working on my videos with me. So they've really taken it in. But we're what we call a pressure-free family. And I've coached other families too, like the entire family. It's ideal when I really get to work one-on-one with each one of these families. So I'll do a group session to start us all off, and then I work one-on-one with each person, because what stresses one person out in the family is not a stressor at all. That's why we don't understand each other. So you'll be confused. Why is that making him nervous? He shouldn't be nervous about that. That's like what you think, because it doesn't make you nervous. But we are all so individual. Also, people can hide stress. Your children could be really hiding their stress from you. a lot of times I'll work with a client. They're coming to me, by the way, for performance, because I'm a performance coach. So they come to me for, and thank you for all the love. I love it. They're coming to me for sports, music, grades, to lift their grades, to get into a better college, to take the MCATs, to take the LSAT. You know, they're coming to me to lift something up. But the first thing we have to do is reduce the release of these stress hormones. Actually, I want to totally eliminate them, because then their mind and body are going to totally flourish and their real gifts and talents can shine. So that's really what's happening here. What's fascinating is, so they come to me for performance, but then what they see, the byproduct of pressure free, is that their relationships change. They're having much better relationships if it's a student. They're having much better relationships with their parents. If it's a business owner, they're having a much better relationship with their spouse. Business owners, you know, if you're a business owner, I'm a business owner. My husband, we're all entrepreneurs right now in our family. We are so entrenched in building our businesses that there's not exactly a whole lot of time for each other. We have to build that in. And so we make it very intentional, which is great. But if you're a business owner, you can be so consumed. I was a nonprofit exec for many years. I was so consumed thinking about the board meeting and thinking about this donation and how we have this concert this weekend, and like so consumed all the time, I missed out. I missed out on so much. Even though I was with my family having dinner, I wasn't there. I was working on the board meeting in my head. That's why I have that double yellow line tool, which is so, so cool. But when you're pressure free, you're in the moment. Being in the moment is completely transformative. When you're in the moment, you get to really be with the people that you love. They will feel it too. Even the youngest child will feel that. Everyone will feel that when you're actually present and with them. And you hear about that all the time. Be mindful, be present. How? If you're in fight or flight, there's no way you can be. You may think you're trying to be, but it's so different when you actually don't release the hormones at all. Then you're totally able to be present and loving, and people will feel that. So relationships change and shift so much with the pressure-free method. And you know, this takes time and practice. You know, I was just working with a client this morning online, and what I love is I can coach people anywhere in the world. So if you have a friend who needs help, oh, I make you smile, thank you, Heather Ann. If you have a friend who needs help and they live far away, I coach Hawaii, Africa. I mean, it doesn't matter where you are. I get on my webinar account with you, and I invest in a lot of tools and stuff in that house, you know, so that I can do my business anywhere. And so I can coach anybody anywhere. And oh my gosh, it's so worth it. Just have a free strategy session to kick off. See if this is right for you. But can you do this by yourself? Yeah, it's going to take time. It's going to take a lot of time and effort. And I can help you reduce that time so much. And when we work together, I don't know, something really beautiful starts to happen. It's life transforming. It really is. So I hope this has been helpful. You know, friendships, and I think about students and friendships, you know, kids who are in new schools, how hard it is to make friendships. And friendships change and shift. We may resonate for a while with a certain group of people, and then that changes. It's like, how do we get that back? Well, Lisa writes, what might a potential client be, say? For me, Lisa, what might a potential client be, say? Can you explain that again for me, Lisa, what you want me to share here? And I certainly will. I'm not sure what you mean, like who a potential client is for pressure free. It's really anyone over the age 12 or older. I've worked as young as 10, but they tend to be really like uber athletes, uber academicians, students really on a mission, and I know they'll do the work. So anyone 12 and older, yeah, anyone 12 and older. Middle school, oh my goodness, if a child can learn this in middle school, it will relieve so much anxiety as they move through school and then into college. Yes, what are we listening for? Oh, listen for this. First of all, kind of, you can see it in the body, like, and it's more physical. Are they grinding their teeth? Are they getting tight here? Is their face tight? Are their shoulders tight? Do they have tension in their body? That's a first sign that you know that somebody's releasing too much anxiety. Is there a lot of complaining going on? Is it hard for them to sleep or hard to get up in the morning? illness, if you have anyone in your family, adult or child, who's getting ill a lot, really, I'm going to knock on wood, but there is really no reason for us to even be sick an entire year. My youngest son has gone 2 years now without missing a single day of school. I have had one small cold, and as my nose starts to run, it's cold out here, by the way. One small cold in 6 years. I had 2 in the first year pressure free. I used to catch everything the boys brought home. So listen for complaining. If a student is really experiencing some anxiety, stomach, digestive issues. Digestive issues are a sure sign that something's going down. What are some other symptoms you can look for? Headaches, migraines, headaches, those are stress-induced. Stomach issues, frequent urination, so trouble, or it can go either way. It can be like instant diarrhea. Lots of things messed up that way. Oh, thank you for the likes and hearts. Hi, Carol. Hi, 2 Carols on. Hi, nice to see you. So digestive issues, constipation, the other way. So it can go either way. Really anything about the health, and also if they're struggling with tests, like you work on something with your student and they're having trouble at home, trouble when they take the test, you can tell that they're not actually giving what they know. That's a sure sign they have test anxiety. And to free people up of test anxiety at any age, like do you get anxious when you have to take your driver's test again? I was actually coaching a group, and there was a 92-year-old woman who had to retake her driver's test, and she was using pressure free so she could take it. So test taking, anxiety over friendships, any signs of starting to use substances at any age, substances to self-medicate. So if you're reaching for that glass of wine every night, it's like you really can't go without that glass of wine. That's really a tricky one. A lot of women these days are like going for the wine, and if you need it, that's a sure sign that your stress level is impacting, that you feel like you need this to settle down. So any kind of substance abuses, overeating, releasing stress hormones causes 2 effects in people with eating. They'll either eat too much, or they can't eat at all. So if you have someone in the family that's struggling with eating, they've probably released these hormones, and that can be really difficult. So gosh, I'm so grateful for everybody coming on live today. I'm about to finish up, and I see Heidi just jumped on. Heidi, it's so nice to see you. Food is your substance. Yeah, a lot of people reach for chocolates, sweets. Marina and I were talking yesterday. Our children going off to school. I actually made oatmeal cookies. I think it's been like 15 years since I made oatmeal cookies, but I made oatmeal cookies for my son to have cookies when he came over from school yesterday. That was so funny. Hi Rachel, thank you for joining. I'm about to finish up here, but just to recap, because this is kind of a longer show, and I do want to recap because relationships are a place where people really struggle, and stress can really, really help you. Reducing stress can really, really help you. What I shared first is a tool. Actually 2 tools. One is to get really intentional about making a little shift with how you greet and how you say goodbye to the people that you love. Friends, people you live with, your spouse, your partner. What little tweak can you make? Maybe it's holding the hug just a little bit longer. Maybe with your coworkers, it's a bigger smile when you greet them. Are you smiley with your family? Sometimes, because we feel safe in our homes, we'll just be like moping all evening. So do you, hi, I'm so happy to see you. Are they happy? Do they know that you're happy to see them? How do we interact? So little tiny tweaks, not huge, it doesn't have to be huge, but a little tiny intentional tweak. Second tool, what was my second tool? Gosh, I had another tool there. How you're serving each other. And also letting people know that you're making these shifts is important, because you will be different. But I think I had something else in there. You'll have to go back through the replay to watch. And then just to recap why stress is so important and why it messes up our relationships. If there's any sort of arguing in your homes, bickering, arguing, again, I had a client who said, well, isn't arguing normal? And I said, well, do you want to be normal, or do you want to be extraordinary? Do you want to have an extraordinary family? Use the pressure-free method. There'll probably be no arguing. And here's a story to point it out. 3 boys. I have 3 boys. The oldest had gone off to college. He was already using the pressure-free method. The others are learning it. And he came back at Christmas time. When he was gone, my other 2 sons took over 2 whole bedrooms and completely took all of his stuff and put it in the attic. So there was no anything of his in the 2 bedrooms, and they put the ping pong table out of the garage up into the bedroom. So they had like this really cool pad in one of the big bedrooms. So my son comes home from college and I'm like, wow, you know, is he going to get upset that his stuff is all moved? Well, they pulled an extra mattress down from the attic so he had a place to sleep. So the first night, I hear them having a great time upstairs when I walk up. They're all, it's December, right, in Michigan. They're all just in shorts, no shirt. And it's like, how old are they? Like, I'm on my show. For all my friends in Aspire, Tim Felmer's trying to call me. I must have gone a whole half hour. So just to finish this up, the story. So I'm thinking, you know, oh, what's going on up there? I walk up there. They're playing ping pong and they're shirtless, right? And my oldest goes, can I have a college party here? And I go, it looks like you're already having a party. The entire time break that he was here, my boys never fought even once. There was never any fighting. They all understood with pressure free that why would you ever fight and cause someone to release stress hormones? Why would you ever want to do that if you love someone? Why would you want to do that? So my boys have a phenomenal relationship with each other and a truly phenomenal life. And we all work together as a family. It's just really, really cool. So being intentional and not releasing stress hormones is just so key and so important. So I've got to go and get on this call with my accountability partner. He's going to yell at me. Hopefully he won't yell at me because he's a super nice guy. Wishing you all a fabulous pressure-free day. And I see Dave's just getting on. And Heather Ann, thanks so much for being on. And go ahead and watch the replay because it's a pretty good one. Have a great one. Bye.